My hope today through this presentation is actually to give you guys some interesting, some facts, share some of the concerns that are out there. We've got 2 brief videos that we'll share with you as well. Hopefully they scare you a little bit, but they're pretty good at showing what the real issues are. And then in the end, we'll talk a little bit about risk mitigation and also talking about insurance solutions. So, great. We have the 4 topics, so we'll talk a little bit about the facts, what does cyber risk and security look like, some of the legislative changes here in the Philippines, and then lastly, just a little bit of mitigation, and also the AIG Cyber Edge app. So, facts. So the human race currently generates 28 billion gigabytes of data every day, and 90% of the information that exists today was created in the last 2 years, and that's just remarkable. More specifically here to the Philippines, according to my research and what was available, the internet made its way to the Philippines here just in 1994. And smartphone penetration as of 2013 was near 50%. So that's quite a large number of people. What is a cyber attack? When I went to university and I graduated in 1999, I wasn't familiar with any of these words. Now they're in every newspaper every day. You can't miss them. Some people are naming their pets after some of these names. So, but a cyber attack is any attempt to gain unauthorized computer access. And so who are the perpetrators? And what's their motivation? If you're a regular reader of the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Times, you'll see that there are attacks happening all over. Some of those are political in nature. You may have seen in Hong Kong on the 1st of July, there was an attack against a bunch of political activists that were putting together a vote. Mysteriously, that website crashed due to a denial of service attack. Sometimes they're criminal in nature. Some of you may be familiar with a corporation called Target, based in the U.S. November last year, they were hit with some credit card fraud issues that came up. Hundreds of millions of pieces of personal data were stolen, and ultimately that cost Target Corporation's CEO his job. And then we have just your regular hackers, your 14-year-olds that are a bit bored and trying to figure out something to do, and they have access to a laptop, and so they do the "Can I hack the FBI database?" So all kinds of different things out there. And of course, there's the employee who loses their computer as well. So what kind of information are hackers after? You can sell anything on the internet, so there is a gigantic black market out there for all types of things. You may think that a few bits and pieces of your personal data really aren't that important, but in the aggregate, they're incredibly valuable. So they're looking to steal and sell anything that they can. These are some of the general ones. Health records are always concerning. AIG did a joint presentation with Deloitte in April of this year back in Hong Kong, talking about the exposure of health records and leakage there. Some really concerning stuff that can come out of that. People can use that against you. Corporate information. This is the new trend. When AIG first came out with the cyber liability insurance product in 1999, that product was first and foremost focused on your personal data. So if someone lost your credit card information or your health data, that was the primary concern. But if we look at where things are in the last 2 years, everything is about corporate information. It's corporate espionage. It's taking blueprints, business plans. That really is the primary concern these days. And so attacks are many and varied. If we focus on the left side of the chart here with malicious attacks, and if you think about political focus, in malicious in nature, you might think of the issues that are happening between China and Taiwan, or China and the US, or Israel and Iran. And on the right side, the non-malicious attacks, Of course, human error is a part of that. Some of you may be familiar with Obamacare in the U.S. There was a failure there of technology that wasn't helped with some malicious attacks on the side. Okay, and so what happens when you suffer a cyber attack? These are all of the potential things that can happen, and they're quite scary. These operational, financial, intellectual property, legal, regulatory, and reputational, and it's quite scary. And there's probably never been a time like today where actually having CTOs and CIOs either having direct access to the board or actually being members of the board has never been probably more relevant than it is today. And so, who can it happen to? I think everyone is familiar with the names of these companies. This is a short list, but obviously it can happen to everyone, even the federal government. And so, is it only big companies that are exposed? And the answer is, of course, not. So here's some local examples here in the Philippines of some hack attacks that happened. A call center, a Philippine bank account, and Living Social. So you don't have to be a large multinational. You can be a small SME, a mid-sized corporation here locally in the Philippines and have exposure. So that first clip was Deloitte. The second one is Bloomberg. This is from Sunday's Financial Times, and they talked about what is the future of cybersecurity, and what are things that can be done actually to protect our personal information and our corporate information. And so these are three of the technologies at the Financial Times that are most relevant today to help protect us. Now, you might know that biometrics, there with the thumbprint, came out on the new iPhone, and someone managed to hack that within 24 hours of its launch. So obviously that's not foolproof, perhaps still better. Then here you've got the two-key system, which is really good until you lose your keys. Some people may lose their keys on occasion, so that's not a great system for you either. And then you've got two-key authentication, which is really helpful when your battery dies on your phone. And then you can't log into your bank account and receive information. So none of these are foolproof, but this is the direction where things are going. There's so much more that's happening. It's really quite an interesting field. This is one step in the direction. What things will look like 3 to 5 years from now, I don't know, but I suspect it probably won't be these solutions. And so, for you as an organization, what does the future of cybersecurity look like? So if you have access to the internet, if you have a website and you're trading business on that website, if you're keeping client data, and if you outsource any of your functions, you've got cybersecurity exposure. And I thought this was interesting. So I was on Google just pulling up some different things and looking at worldwide threats and what's out there. And on February the 18th of this year, 2014, President Barack Obama actually said that cyber terrorism is the country's biggest threat. And you think to yourself, would that have been the case 10 years ago? They probably would have said it was Iran or Russia or North Korea. But now it's cyber terrorism. For those of you that are movie buffs, there's a movie called Live Free or Die Hard that came out in 2007 with Bruce Willis. And in there, they talk about having a yard sale where actually the U.S. government is attacked from all different angles, and they actually systematically shut down the country, the power grid, everything else, and apparently it is a potential reality. And then last but not least, just doing a brief Google search, typing in cyber terrorism, there were 6.2 million hits that came up. And the fourth link on that list was actually the FBI's website. So if we talk about here in the Philippines, some of the legislative changes that have either happened or are coming here in the very near future, things to be concerned about, these are more data privacy focused. But you do have the Privacy Amendment Act of 2012, which came into effect in March of this year. And there's a potential additional bill, the Privacy Amendment Bill, which could come into force in the near future. And so these enhanced powers for the Privacy Commission, they instigate their own investigations, they have enforceable undertakings, there's disclosure requirements, and of course penalties. Every regulator likes to levy penalties. And if we move into risk mitigation, what's available to you, there are insurance solutions to the market, so this isn't just a technology play. It's not about having the most expensive laptop and the best software. It's also about having a risk management tool, which is an insurance solution. So there you have legal liability out there to third parties. You also have liability to the regulator. There's incident response cover available. Notification costs are quite common these days, so if you've had a breach of data, you need to tell people about that. It can be incredibly expensive, especially if you're notifying millions upon millions of customers. That is an insurance solution available. Network interruption is gigantic. If you're an Amazon.com type of company and you're trading all of your business online, having your network down is really debilitating. And extortion is becoming ever more prevalent, particularly here in Asia. Extortion is a real threat, and something that also we provide an insurance solution for. And we just finish up here. Just plugging, AIG does have a Cyber Edge app available, so this is available for your iPhone, your iPad. It's also available for Android. It's free. Which is a great thing. It's continuously updated. We've got claim statistics on there by geography, so North America, but also including Asia. We've got statistics on there in terms of what a cyber hack actually could cost you. What are some of those forensic costs that happen? And we also give you updates in terms of where there's actually been a data breach. So you could look on the app today and see where in the world there were data breaches yesterday, what they were, how they happened, et cetera, all available on the app. So thank you very much for your time.